Senator, thanks for being with us today.
Good to be with you, Mark.
Well, let's talk about some things not living, but that are happening in there. I want to get into one this year. I believe it was this year, or was it last year, that you were put as the ranking member of the Banking Committee?
Yeah, this year, this Congress.
And so you've been very busy, and part of the time that we've missed you is because some of the things have been going on with that Banking Committee. But you've been doing some interesting research reports, hearings and that, and I'd like to be able to get into that a little bit.
Oh, you bet. And I'm glad you're asking about this because this is something I think Americans need to really pay attention to. As a part of the congressional reaction to the banking and the housing crisis that we had in the last 3 or 4 years, Congress passed a bill called the Dodd-Frank legislation, and that is something I voted against. It had a lot of bad parts to it. But one of the bad parts is it created a brand new federal agency called the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the CFPB, and put an executive director in charge of it who has complete budget access to the Federal Reserve for his budget, no oversight by Congress, and does not report to a board, and issues rules and regulations all by himself. Virtually a king or queen, whoever's in charge of this agency, with no restraints effectively in terms of oversight. And this agency has now started to collect data on Americans in terms of their credit card accounts, their banking accounts, their mortgage account transactions, and student loan transactions, and is literally bringing online hundreds of millions of accounts and data points on the spending habits and activities of American citizens. And although the agency claims that they are making the data anonymous, so they don't know exactly who made the purchase on eBay or what have you, the fact is that from those I'm talking to, they can easily reverse engineer that anytime they want from the data they're collecting.
I talked about this about 2 weeks ago on a Saturday show when all the I was 2 or 3 weeks ago with all the information that came out on the leakers about the NSA and that. And we mentioned this and talked just a little bit about it, and I'm curious because the person who was leaking said really a lot of the direction that this is going is to be able to put everything that we have onto a smart card type of thing. And so you just have all the information. So if they can get this all accumulated and put together, we're already set to go. Is that the direction that you see it?
That's a worry that I have, frankly. I mean, if you stop and think about it, the United States Postal Service is keeping a photographic record of all mail. They don't read the inside of the mail, but the outside of all mail that's moving. We have all heard about what's going on with the NSA in terms of the collection of telephone and internet data. We now have the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau collecting information on all credit card transactions, all banking transactions, all mortgage transactions, and all student loan transactions. And in the immigration bill that just passed the Senate, part of the worry that I had about that bill, there were many, but part of it was we're creating an e-verify system which could be used to create a national photograph data bank on people's photographs. And I just think the list keeps growing of all of the data that the government is collecting about Americans. And, the administrators or the managers of these agencies say, well, we don't look at the individual data. We've got all the individual data, but we don't look at it in terms of individuals. Well, it's just one more step for them to do that.
Oh, yeah. And one of the things that was talked about is that if they red flag somebody, then they've got it all right there. They can pull it up, and then they do look at all of it. And
then they do. Then they can go in and dig it out. All they have to do is, like you said, red flag. And under FISA, when we were the legislation dealing with the NSA and telephone and internet intercepts, we were assured that they had to get a court order and make a showing that there is reason to believe that the person is connected to terrorist activity. Well, now it's starting to look like that's not necessarily the case. And I really believe that Americans should be alarmed at every level about the level of data collection that's going on.
Welcome to Big Brother.
That's right. As a result of all the work that I've been involved in on it, I've just recently written a letter to the Government Accounting Office, the GAO, and asked for an investigation. And I expect that there will be an investigation. This will just be one step in what we need to do as a country to respond to this, but we've got to get engaged.
Well, then that kind of goes into the question I had, and that is you're talking about this with consumer affairs. We're talking about what happens with NSA. the Department of Homeland Security through immigration reform. We see it with medical and how they want to put these things into medical, and they're gathering information.
Yes.
What can we do? People would like to have a little bit of privacy in their lives. What can we do about this, be able to bring this out and stop it?
First and foremost, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked it, because I think many Americans believe that they just don't have a voice anymore and that they see this running out of control, whether it's in this area or the spending or any number of other areas where the government is just completely out of control. But the fact is that people can make a difference, and that's why I said I hope people are starting to pay attention to this, because if people will speak out, call or write or email their congressmen and their senators, and frankly, as you've heard me say on your show before, call or write or email everybody on your Christmas card list, everybody in your email contacts, everybody in your Facebook, everybody in whatever social media you use, and first of all, let them know about this, and secondly, encourage them to call their senators and congressmen, and it can work. In fact, grassroots politics is still one of the strongest things in American politics, and so I just hope people stay focused.
Well, we've got to do something, because I see government getting bigger and stronger, and I love the quote from Justice Kennedy in the Prop 8 dissent, in which he said, the power flows from the people to the government, not the opposite. Yet we're seeing more and more of it's trying to reverse itself.